Hello again. I want to talk to you very briefly, I promise briefly, about the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence has been described as one of the most influential documents ever written in the English language, and I think I would probably have to agree with that. We're going to talk in class about some of the influences on the Declaration of Independence, but I wanted to take an opportunity to tell you, first of all, what the Declaration of Independence does and what it does not do. Okay? One is the Declaration of Independence does not give the United States of America its freedom. It'd be nice if it did, but it didn't. It actually was signed just a few months into the war. The war had already started. It's also not a declaration of war. The war had already started. People were shooting at each other already, and things actually seemed to be going maybe sort of okay for the colonials. They thought maybe they're going to win this thing, but they wanted to make sure that some things were understood. And probably the first and foremost is they wanted to make sure that people knew why they were in a state of rebellion. Essentially, what I've always described the Declaration of Independence as is it's a breakup letter. If you've ever broken up with a boyfriend or a girlfriend and you wrote them a letter or you sent them a text, you didn't just ghost them or something along those lines, and or if you've ever, we used to call it Dear Johning somebody, so if you've ever been Dear Johned, then you may know sometimes they say, hey, listen, I don't want to be with you anymore, and this is why. And they leave all these, they tell you all the things, why you're a terrible human being, and why nobody would ever want to be with you, and things like that. Okay, essentially that's what the Declaration of Independence is. It's a breakup letter between the colonists in North America and the King of England. They're saying, hey, listen, we don't want to be part of you anymore, and these are the reasons why. And so most of the Declaration of Independence is a list of grievances, and we'll look at those grievances and we'll look at some of the influences on some of those grievances and things like this. But there's things like, for example, they mentioned the Quartering Act. They mentioned that foreign soldiers have come into England, like the Hessians, and have pillaged villages and destroyed entire villages. They mentioned that they don't allow the colonists to make trade with other nations. They take away their personal liberties and freedoms, and so you can look at them. You can actually look at those, and they're blocked together: the abuse of power, collusion against the colonists, and then what we would call war crimes. Now, they didn't use that term back then, but it would be war crimes, like destroying entire villages, not caring if they were combatants or not, things like this. And so it was this breakup letter saying, hey, listen, this is why we want to leave. This is why we're fighting for this. And it was a way to try to convince those people in the colonies who weren't so sure about this revolution that they should be supporting the revolution. It was written officially to King George, and they did send a copy to King George, but it was also published in every major newspaper in the colonies. And so it was published in English, it was published in Dutch, it was published in German, and trying to get people to support the revolution. Remember that Benjamin Franklin, one of the Committee of Five who did help write the Declaration of Independence, his primary job was editor, correcting Thomas Jefferson's grammar. He was convinced that only about a third of the colonials actually supported the revolution, and a third weren't so sure, with, of course, the third being loyalists. And so this was a very important idea. Listen, you need to support our revolution. We're fighting on your behalf. These are all the things the king has done that have been bad. Come, join, volunteer. But it was also an appeal to other nations, for example, Holland and France and Spain, which are all three going to help our revolution in different ways. And so they're going to come in and they're going to look at it and go, see, we're justified in our revolution against our government. This isn't about not liking kings or Europe or anything like this. This is very specific to England. Now, Holland is going to look at this and go, this is a chance to take England down a notch because they're getting a little uppity, and so they're going to help. In fact, they're going to be the first country to recognize the United States of America, and they're going to loan us money, which is really important because it takes money in order to buy rifles and guns and cannons and bullets and stuff like this. The Spanish are going to look at this and go, hey, this is a chance to take England down a notch because they're getting really, too big for their britches. And they beat us up a few years ago, so now it's our time to get a little revenge. And so they're going to do things like they're going to engage the English fleet out on the ocean because they had a fleet and we only had 7 ships. And they're going to keep all of the keep a lot of the French or the English Navy busy and away from being able to move soldiers easily around the 13 colonies, the East Coast. And of course, the French are going to come in and go, this is our chance to beat the French, to beat the English because they beat us in the war. Let's get some revenge here. And they're going to come in, they're going to loan us, they're going to give us weapons, and they're even going to send soldiers over here to the U.S. to train our soldiers, our militia, because they're a bunch of farmers. They don't know how to fight professional soldiers. And so they're going to come in and teach us how to march, how to shoot straight, and do some things like this, how to concentrate fire and volley fire, and all those things that are important. But while all those things are important, I don't think we would have won the revolution without the help of the Dutch and the Spanish and certainly the French. The reason that the Declaration of Independence is important is actually written not in that list of grievances, but in the second paragraph where it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That sentence, as perhaps a little clumsy as it may sound, is inspirational to a great many people in the New World. When in Latin America they began to rebel against Spain and Portugal, many of them will be quoting that line from the Declaration of Independence. Many of them, they're going to go, well, do we really have that right? Well, Jefferson, foreseeing that question, the next line says that to secure these rights, those unalienable rights I just mentioned, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. And so that whenever any form of government comes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government. So they're saying the Declaration of Independence is giving permission for colonial people, oppressed people, to try to stand up for themselves, to stand up for their rights because their government is not fulfilling its part of the social contract. And that is a big difference from anything that had ever been articulated before. Even those things and we're going to talk in class about those things that inspired the Declaration of Independence, they don't put it quite so succinctly and so clearly. And so when Jefferson puts it down there, it's very powerful. He had a way with words. He was highly intelligent, very literate, very well educated. And he took all of these ideas of the Enlightenment and he summarized them just beautifully. And he puts it together. And basically, it is a document that has definitely stood the test of time, and it's a document that even the paper itself is precious. During World War II, the United States took an original copy of the Constitution and an original copy of the Declaration of Independence, and they put it in the safest place that they could because those papers were so important to America that they actually hid them in the vaults at Fort Knox with all of our gold and silver and treasure. That is probably one of our biggest treasures. All right, so I will talk to you later. That was the bell, so it's time for me to go. Bye-bye.